Alright, what is up everybody? It's Joe from JLW Games coming at you with another cool video back in Planet Coaster 2 with this time traveler recreation once again. Back with another episode, and today we're going to be finishing the layout and kind of getting started on the custom supporting. So this is going to be a lot of trial and error, and I think the end result actually ended up being really good. And like, I don't usually get this hyped up about my recreations. I don't think I'm the best at recreating coasters, but this might be one of my best, actually, all things considered. And getting things started, we actually kind of undo everything we kind of did in the first episode, besides the drop. I do keep the drop, but we kind of try and redo the dive loop. This is probably the only spot in the ride that I'm still kind of meh about. The shape of it still didn't turn out the greatest, but it still kind of works for what happened. So anyways, it just kind of like, you don't know where you need it to be until you get later into the layout, since there's a lot of crossing over with the tracks and everything like that, so it made it a little bit difficult. But I will say the thing that I'm most proud of this recreation is probably how the train travels through this entire layout. I think that it's very realistic, and some of you might say it's kind of dragging, but honestly I think it's perfectly accurate of what time travelers speeds, and like it replicates the speeds of time traveler pretty well. Because it does have a lot of hang time moments, and in the high points of the ride it actually hangs for a second, which has some really cool hang time just in general and sensations. Like, and the big wave turn after the launch, you hang up at the top for a good second or so. Like, it's pretty slow, and then the vertical loop, you get some pretty good hang time. Same with like the dive loop, even like actually it takes a second to get through it. And then like same to be said for the rest of the layout too. For like at the very end of the ride, when you go through those last few turns, it actually does not hit the brake run very hard, so it kind of like gracefully slides into the brake run. So I'm pretty excited and pretty happy of how this turned out. So like, you guys only see this in a time lapse. Once we get far enough along, I'll definitely put in some cinematic shots so you guys can actually see it properly. But just trust myself when I think this is probably the best I've done a recreation, and if you ask me, like, it's just again with the dive loop, it was just again, it was a trial and error thing, and getting it in the right position was the hardest part, and I think it turned out decent, but like, it could have been a lot better. You can see that the shaping is kind of off, and I tried to do my best to kind of go in and edit it a little bit to try and get the shaping down. We might still go back in later. I haven't done any of the custom supports on it yet, so we might go in and see if we can save it still. It's just one of those hard things, because again, you have to work it around all the other track pieces and make sure that it fits in. And then the vertical loop just goes through all of it, so it's kind of one of those difficult elements to kind of implement shaping wise, but also making sure that the positioning of it is also correct. So and then this is also another hard part, was to, after the wave, this big wave turn, is to actually go in and line up the track perfectly with the dive loop and launch section, to perfectly line it up to go over it. And I'm still new to custom looping and everything. I did I know I did do a custom loop on the Planet Coaster 1 version that I did, but the coaster builder is just a little bit different now, so it was a lot harder, and you'll see a lot of stopping in the video, and that's me just trying to get my references ready and figure out references. You can see some really bad trial and errors here with the loop, because it is a very circular loop. I even went in and almost considered doing a in-game loop as well, but I did ultimately figure out a way to get it the way I wanted to, and you can see that this is just way too big, and I think that was the idea, I was just kind of like, man, this loop is just kind of way too wide, if that makes sense. And I was trying to make it very symmetrical at the same time, but it just wasn't working at first. And then I finally got a good solution on it, and it worked really well. And I ended up using the angle snap, and I just had certain snap points that were perfect and everything. So, but yeah, getting this loop in position was the hardest. And at this point, I was like, I like the top portion of the loop in this spot, but I was like, it's a little bit too teardrop shaped, you know? That was the problem that I was getting here, and I was like, I couldn't really get the shaping I wanted, and it was a little bit of a pain in the butt trying to get it. But then I finally found the solution, I think shortly after, once, as you'll see me try to use the in-game pieces as well. There's actually a new loop piece that I didn't know was going to be in here, which is it's kind of like an in-between of a 360 loop and a teardrop loop. It's actually kind of in between those two, and that's actually kind of like the perfect piece for it. But I think it gave me an idea when I was trying to figure that out, and I was like, oh, this is it was called the clot hole loop, I think. So yeah, and I think this is a new element. I don't think it was in Planet Coaster 1, so quite a bit of an interesting one, and it gave me the inspiration to do it properly. So I was gonna try and maybe use it at first, but then I decided to go and do my own, and I did end up, I think this is about the final time I finally get it. And again, I use the method by Silverhead, of course, that he shared with us, and how to do your own custom vertical loops, where you can actually just go in and over itself, and then you can actually use the control key and the move it over to actually create a proper custom loop. So, and you just move it over, slant it over, which is a really nice tool that is in Planet Coaster 2 that was not in Planet Coaster 1. So, and I used this method, and it worked pretty perfectly. So after I got the loop in place, I finally got that shaping I wanted here, and I was just like, thank goodness. You know, I didn't want to have to spend countless hours trying to get this vertical loop perfect, but I think we finally got it. And then I had to do a little bit of adjusting on the dive loop and the vertical loop at the bottom of the vertical loop to try and make sure that it has enough clearance on each spot, because that was another challenge, was trying to make sure I had enough clearance on all of these pieces. So but this footage was taken with multiple days of footage, so I just, when I had time, and then going into this next portion here, we're going to go ahead and do the off-axis airtime hill, whatever you want to call it, like the little twisting airtime hill. I don't know if it actually has a official name. If you guys know, let me know in the comments section, but it's when you go up one way, turning left, and then it banks you harshly to the right, like really hard. And it's actually probably the most forceful part of the ride, besides maybe the drop in the back row, but it really throws you from one direction to the other, and it's pretty aggressive, actually. And this leads us into the 0G roll after the this turnaround, and I had to take a few tries to get this in the right spot as well, so that took a little bit of trial and error, and then also lining up the track to be in the right spot for launch number 2, which wasn't too hard. I think I got down pretty quickly on the launch, and this lined up so much better than my version in Planet Coaster 1, and I think the 0G roll turned out a lot better as well. Just everything in general and about this layout is 100% better than my layout that I did in Planet Coaster 1, and I think you guys would probably agree. I think my coaster building skills have just gotten better. Maybe it's because I'm using the 4-meter method and I just have a little bit more control of the track. When you use these shorter pieces, you really have a lot more, I feel like you do have a lot more control of your track design and everything, and how you want it to be shaped up. And I always give I always hated the 4 meter/1 meter method in Planet Coaster 1. I just never wanted to do it, and I just hated it, so I did kind of my own thing. But in Planet Coaster 2, it is very effective, and honestly, it's probably the best way to make coasters right now. And it doesn't even take that long. So the smoothing process with the 4 meter method right now is actually really good, because you can pretty much just spam the smoothing tool overall, which is very, very nice, not having to really, having to go back and forth and everything. You can go back and forth, but I think just spamming them has worked really well, and just keep an eye on your banking offset, that make sure it doesn't get rid of too much of it. But yeah, we got to the second launch, and it turned out pretty good, and most of the layout is pretty much done at this point right here. So I was pretty happy at this point, and I was also looking at the spots where I needed to create the custom spine, or the thicker spine on those high stress points. So I was trying to pinpoint exactly where Time Traveler uses all those thicker spines. So you did see that for a little bit. I was working on that. And then, of course, we wanted to do the brake run here, going around, and that way we can kind of start lining ourselves up with the final brake run. And it did take a little bit to get this exactly where I needed, and I ended up changing it again later on. So, also, Time Traveler does have an unload station. They don't use it anymore. They only use it for 3-train operation, and quite frankly, Time Traveler never runs 3 trains in real life. Like, it just doesn't happen. And visually, it wouldn't look right, because it has to have that big platform in Planet Coaster 2 with the unload stations, and it's actually, the unload station is also the transfer track on Time Traveler, so it wouldn't really look right. So I think I'm gonna leave the unload station out of it for right now. I'll visually make it look like it's there, but I'm not gonna make it functional, because it also doesn't work for the load station either. Because with the load station, if you're doing an unload station, the exit on the load station has to be the same side as the load gates, which doesn't make sense. I don't know why you can't change it to the other side, because Time Traveler's exit is on the other side of the load gates, but it would make me put the exit on the load station in the same side of the exit gates, or the entrance gates. So that's something I hope Frontier maybe adds an extra thing that we can add on to our load stations when you're utilizing unload stations, is being able to put the entrance and exit wherever you want on the load station, because you still have to put an extra exit on it, so your staff can access the dock for the servicing, and also if guests get stuck, they can also exit from there too. But since it's not gonna work visually or even functionally the correct way accurately, I think we're just gonna leave it out. And again, it's not a huge deal, because Time Traveler doesn't utilize their unload station anymore anyways, so it was kind of a flawed design anyways, the way they kind of implemented it. And again, Time Traveler doesn't really run 3 trains anyways, so and it only makes sense to use it during 3-train operation. I will have 3 trains on here, just for the sake of Planet Coaster and capacity overall, and I got it timed pretty well. I just had to use some dispatch intervals, and it worked pretty well. So getting these last few turns into the game was kind of a pain to try and get right. I redid it multiple times, and it didn't just seem just right just yet, and I wanted to get it in a spot where I was pretty happy with, and it took quite a bit of time to get there. But after a little bit of trial and error again, we did get there. And again, I did go and adjust the brake run a little bit to make that last turn, to help with the last turn shaping. And to my credit, I think I finally got it about the spot that I wanted in. And we have pretty accurate speeds on the launch, by the way. Both launches, the first launch goes 47 miles per hour, which I think is completely accurate. And then the second launch goes 45 miles per hour in the real game, but I did up it to 46 just because it went a little bit, just a tiny bit too slow in the last turn, so I decided to up it by 1 mile an hour, and that seemed to do the trick pretty well. And it flows through this layout really well, and we have a completed layout for Time Traveler, and I was really kind of looking to see if there's any other adjustments I needed to do before I moved on to custom supporting, which is another clip that I think I did do in the same day, but anyways, it looks pretty good. Like, I'm pretty happy with how this layout turned out. Let me know in the comment section, guys, if I nailed it, if there's some spots you think I should redo. I think there's some spots that are a little bit off, but like for the most part, for not being able to have like the Google Maps being able to do one-to-one recreation, I think it turned out pretty good. So getting into our custom supporting, so we basically just support the first drop here in this episode, and then we'll go on and do more later on. I have noticed that the connectors are a little bit too big. I mean, we have the scaling tool, so it's not a big deal, but like they seem a little bit big, at least for this track. Maybe they're meant for other track pieces, but that's just kind of my analysis there. And of course I had to resize. I think I might change the sizing of this later on, because I think I made it a little bit too small, at least for this first supports. I kept the other supports bigger on the first drop, which turned out really nice, by the way. And again, my goal is to have a small enough piece count to make this a blueprint, so you guys can have it for yourselves. And I might do different blueprints potentially. I might do a blueprint with no station, with just supports and the layout, and then I'll try and do one with the station 2 if it's not too many pieces. So we'll have to wait and see on that, if it's too many pieces or not. So yeah, that's how that is going to go. And then of course we go in to the very weird, I always said that this support structure is kind of weird for the drop, but it is really cool. It's kind of a interesting little support structure that goes into here, but it is pretty nice. I was trying to put the flanges also in the correct spots as well. I'm not sure if I needed this for this cylinder piece, the circle piece. I needed a short connector piece, and the only way to do that was to use the arch-shaped circle and scale it down to, I think it was like 22% or so. I don't know if that is utilizing the scaling mod or not. I hope not, but if it is what it is. But going into here, I had to put a few more connector pieces, and getting this, again, the support structure was really, really cool. And it's very unique, but I think it's pretty awesome. So, but that's about all I do in this video, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe for more amazing content like this, guys. If you want to watch my videos and episodes early, be sure to hit that join button to support me further, and you guys can get access to my videos before they come out. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and of course we'll see you guys in the next episode or video, whatever I see you again. So have a great day, guys, and even cooler tomorrow, and of course I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks so much, and goodbye.